Hello everybody! Wow! I'm very happy to see all of you on this channel! Alright guys, I'm just gonna quit this now. I cannot do a Christopher Walken impression and I'm not gonna torture you guys with it. I'm sure if you have friends that are movie fans, they've probably already annoyed the crap out of you with their bad Christopher Walken impressions.
I'm Christopher Walken! I never heard it before.
But guys, there is a reason why I'm actually invoking Christopher Walken right now, because very recently I went on a Horseshoe Theory podcast with J-Rek and Art Chad.
You know, was there, well, first of all, why haven't you killed yourself yet?
Yeah. Huge day for terminally online people. And of course I did read the comments, and one in particular struck me. Listening to this man, I am starting to think that Christopher Walken might come from Russia. What can I say, guys? This guy cracked the code, I think. He's making perfect sense, because I am the Christopher Walken of YouTube, yes. Except without all the talent and success, but you know. On a serious note though, when I read this comment I was like, maybe this guy is onto something, because Christopher Walken, apart from being known for being a talented actor, is also very famous for his unusual way of speaking and his unusual accent that doesn't really sound like anybody.
Long time no see, big hug.
Big hug.
I think everyone does an impression of Christopher Walken because he's such an easy kind of...
You know, I feel like what this show needs is more cowbell.
Pineapple. I like to eat it.
I often do see people who do think that my accent is weird. A lot of people cannot get over the way I talk and it really annoys them. Not sure why. And as somebody who speaks English as a second language, I often get my accent compared to many different accents, and a lot of people even claim that I cannot be Russian and I'm actually like a Westerner who is paid to pretend to be Russian because the way I speak English is too weird and doesn't really sound like the way a real Russian would speak English. In today's video, I, your favorite neighborhood Russian, Roman, we're gonna be getting to the bottom of this. I'm gonna try to explain to you guys how exactly my accent came about, why it's so weird, why some people don't believe that I'm Russian, and why a lot of people think that I sound like Christopher Walken. Now look, while I may make some fun of my accent in this video, you gotta understand that language learning is something that definitely takes a lot of time and effort, which is something that not everybody has. And even though I do try to deep dive into the topics that I discuss on this channel, sometimes I do use modern tools for my research, which is exactly why today's video is sponsored by ReadPartner. ReadPartner is a great AI tool and a research assistant which can help students and professionals save up about 20 hours every month with the ability to make quick summaries of any document, video, website or article. ReadPartner is available as a free Chrome browser extension. It appears in the top corner of your browser and allows you to easily summarize any content that you see on the screen. Here for example you can see how ReadPartner summarized one of my previous videos. It creates a great customizable summary that can highlight different key points, highlight certain difficult terms and words, and not only that, but you can actually discuss the summary with AI. And the best thing is that ReadPartner can actually make these summaries in a variety of different languages. So if you are a student or a professional who has to go through a lot of data, a lot of documents, a lot of videos, whatnot, try out ReadPartner through my link in the description. This gives you a 70% discount for the premium plan for the first 12 months of usage, and also, when you check out the link and even download the free version, it helps to show ReadPartner that the sponsorship was worth it and also helps out my channel. And now guys, let's get back to the video. Okay, so first of all, why am I saying that the guy who compared me to Christopher Walken in the first place kinda cracked the code? Well, it's because I've always been fascinated by Christopher Walken's accent myself, and I actually decided to Google it. Why does Christopher Walken really sound so weird? And what I found shocked me. Anyway, I'm on some film website here, on an article that talks about Christopher Walken's voice, and both my parents had heavy accents. He told CBC News in 2012, making reference to his family's German and Scottish heritage. Continuing, he explained, "It is a rhythm thing. People who speak English where they have to hesitate and think of the right word." And I think it rubbed off. I did find that very relatable, I'm gonna tell you guys why. Born in Queens, New York in 1943, Walken is the son of Scottish and German immigrants, with both parents working to keep the family running by operating their own bakery in a neighborhood of various ethnicities and voices. Hearing lots of Greek, Italian, Polish, German, and Yiddish, the young actor developed a way of speaking that incorporated many different inspirations, becoming something of a strange vocal concoction. Speaking to the Observer in 2016, Wallen Come on guys, check your fucking errors, it says Wallen. Wallen explained, "I think I grew up listening to people who spoke English in a kind of broken way," adding that he soaks up the accents around him to create his own unique tone. Throw these eclectic ingredients in with the sound of Queens, New York, and it's no wonder that Walken has developed such a bizarre voice that helps him to climb to the very top of the industry. So when I went and read this, you know, everything kind of made sense to me right away. Because I feel like I, and also a lot of other kids born around, you know, Y2K, in a non-English speaking country and who also spend a lot of their time, or most of their time, on the English side of the internet, in a certain way, we all kind of feel like Christopher Walken right now, okay? I mean, I'm sure that I do, at least. According to Walken, his accent and rhythm of speech has been inspired by people who speak English as a second language, who are not too good at English and who struggle with their rhythm, where they kind of have to come up with words or translate things right on the spot, which basically leads to the rhythm being completely broken and weird, and sounding not natural for English speakers.
What?
And honestly, I do think that this is the way I talk. A lot of these videos that I make on my channel, I do have a plan and I do have bullet points and sort of ideas and the topics that I want to cover in a particular video. I write my thoughts down, but a lot of my videos are not fully scripted, which leads to me freestyling and kind of, you know, making up shit on the spot here in front of the camera right now. I'm doing it right now, guys. Right now. Insane. Live. You're watching this shit live. And while sometimes it might sound good, most of the time, you know, it doesn't sound that good. And a lot of the times, you know, the sentences that I do try to come up with kind of end up nowhere and I do have to reshoot it. I do have to say things again in a better way just to word them because once again, if you're not an English speaker, sometimes, me being a Russian speaker natively, I think of a sentence in Russian, maybe, and then when I try to spell it out, it's a bit of an issue because the structure in Russian and English is way, way different.
Сука, блять. Bitch fucking.
You have to put things in very different places if you want to have a very big complex sentence, right? So yeah, that is why a lot of the times the way I speak in these videos is broken and abrupt in a way because my brain isn't able to come up with English sentences as good on the fly as a person who's known English since they were a very, very little child. And also, once again, the reason why I think I am the Christopher Walken of YouTube officially now, the way Christopher Walken describes his upbringing, kinda how, you know, he was around many different people with all sorts of different accents, you know, not being able to speak English very perfectly, I guess. More or less, that is also, I feel like, the experience of a lot of people who grew up on the internet now, who are not from English-speaking countries originally. Like, first of all, I've already covered this in my video in which I talked about how I learned English so well. I talked about how a big part of me learning a lot of English and really getting to know the language and getting to know a lot of the words came from video games and consuming online content on YouTube and so on, purely only in English. Even at a point in time when I fully couldn't understand everything that I watched, I would still watch English-speaking content, just hoping to kind of get better automatically. I don't know why, but it did actually happen. And you also gotta understand that I studied English in a Russian school, right? My teacher was an ethnic Russian who English is also a second language for, right? So first of all, my teacher's accent has probably rubbed off on me, right? And I'm just telling you guys, a lot of Russian public school teachers who teach English, a lot of the times their knowledge of English and their accent is not too perfect.
Belkin, do you speak English?
It's kind of like how a lot of these Russians go to China to be English teachers when they don't know English for shit. China just hires them because they're white Europeans. So perhaps my accent, even before I went on the internet, was not already, you know, perfect. But then on the internet I started consuming content from all sorts of different people. Americans, British people, New Zealanders, Australians, Europeans that are making videos in English. I mean, there's everybody, right? Everybody's making content in English, it makes the most sense. And essentially when you're a little teenager and you're watching all of this stuff and also you're learning English at the exact same time, you gotta soak it all up immediately and it almost becomes part of you. So this is precisely the reason why today I can say certain words or certain phrases or, you know, certain sentences even sometimes very Britishly, if that makes sense, right? In a very British adjacent English. And sometimes other words that I would pronounce and other words that I would say would sound very American, like American English with hard R's. No, not in that way, not in the Linus Sex Tips way.
I'm not gonna deny that I dropped my fair share of hard R's back then.
But yeah, and then I would also just kind of use my basic speech, my kind of accent that I kind of already grew into and developed for myself, which kind of just sounds like, once again, all over the place. Christopher Walken of YouTube, once again. So yes, I do think that that is the reality for a lot of us who learn English as a second language, especially spending a lot of the time learning the language on the internet, watching YouTube, whatever. However, I do think that one thing that kind of separates me and made me, once again, uniquely weird and made me sound uniquely strange to people is the fact that I became a YouTuber when I was relatively young and I already needed to use my voice and speak English. You know, I became a YouTuber in English. I already started regularly making like sort of commentary content, you know, content where I used my real voice around like 2016 or so. So I was literally 18 years old. That was like 9 years ago. So you can imagine my accent has moved on and improved a lot. But back in the day, it wasn't as good.
That's what pisses me off about all of these videos. Just a tiny bit overused. Thanks for whoever fucking re-uploaded that. This has been filmed in one day. Let's just proceed further. But the thing he did at the end.
I was not only creating content in English, but also at the same time, I was learning how to speak English in a way, right? And I created my speech patterns and my cadence overall, right? And I do think that actually, just because I am a YouTuber, right? And yes, obviously I do talk to people in English in my daily life now, especially that I live in Europe, that I have to speak English pretty often, and I do have friends that I speak English to, right? When I was still living in Russia and making content in English already, right? I wasn't really talking to anybody in English in my daily day-to-day life, right? The only time I would actually speak English and actually fully formulate sentences, kind of, almost, would be just creating YouTube content and sitting in front of the camera like I'm doing now, yapping, right? Which in my opinion did in some way probably negatively perhaps affected my accent, because my speech patterns and my cadence, everything, became very formulaic and kind of formed by the YouTube meta at the time, or whatever I thought was the meta at the time, you know, kind of how I had to sound. I projected my own idea of how I have to sound, and then that became my reality, or whatever it became, and now I'm once again the Christopher Walken of YouTube. So yeah, in general, I think languages and accents are absolutely fascinating. And I think it's incredible to hear how different people from different walks of life, from different backgrounds, sound when they speak the exact same language. This is why I personally also really enjoy listening to Russian in like a Caucasian accent. Because it just sounds so wholesome, you know what I mean? So hopefully, my accent sounds wholesome enough to some of you guys, and you actually enjoy how I sound. Because if everybody really does hate my accent, then I may just need to shut up. Thank you guys so much for watching this video though, and if you guys would like to support this channel, don't forget to sign up for ReadPartner using the link down in the description or through the QR code on screen to claim your 70% discounts. Anyways guys, I guess that's gonna be pretty much it for today's video though. I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you guys did, then please make sure to slap that like button on it. Additionally, if you want to support me, go down to the link in the description, become a YouTube member, or leave a super thanks underneath this video. Thank you guys so much for watching this, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.